What's up, Amanda?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. We had a offsite yesterday at we went to a Giants game, so I'm
Oh,
just
fun.
everything. Yeah, it was really nice, and they won, so that was cool.
That's awesome. Did so it was probably a pretty big showing then if most of the team went, I would imagine.
Yeah, we had pretty much everyone except for some of the folks that are remote or like couldn't make it, but
Oh
it
yeah.
was a yeah, it was a good experience. Are you a baseball fan at all?
Not really. I mean, I like going to games, but
Yeah,
yeah. Are
same.
you? Are you a big Giants
No.
fan? Oh yeah.
I'm originally from the LA area, so like my family are like really hardcore Dodgers fans
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm kind of indifferent. So, but it is a little bit awkward going to a Giants game when my like parents are like, just so in love with the Dodgers and there's that whole rivalry and everything, but
Oh yeah. They're
yeah.
like, we saw you on the at the game. What are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah. Or I'm like, I'm at a Giants game. They're like, why?
Yeah. Why would you possibly do that? That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Oh,
pretty cool. That's like are you guys doing that like once every 6 months or something?
I think it's like I don't know. I'm still pretty new. This is my first time doing it, but I think it's like once a quarter. There's
Nice.
something like a
Yeah.
local sort of San Francisco um, thing. So
Yeah. Super
yeah, it's
cool.
it's cool. The last company I worked at was based on the East Coast. So anytime we did like any sort of company offsite, I always had to fly to New York and then figure out a way to get to wherever we were going.
Oh yeah.
And that was, like, fun, but also a lot, just the whole, like, West Coast to East Coast thing all the time.
Hmm.
So I
Yes.
am I am kinda glad to be somewhere more, like, local to me.
Oh sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, having to travel and then not knowing exactly where to go. And yeah, it's definitely less fun than having something that's kind of a lot closer or even in your backyard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they did take us to Disney World, that was cool, but
Oh wow.
I'd never done that before, but, like, yeah, just the jet lag and everything, and it's always a quick one, it's like 3 days and you're kinda rallying, it's like, "And we're gonna start at 8 AM," and I'm like,
Yep.
"Okay, that's that's pretty early, that feels really early," but, uh
That's crazy. Disney World. Wow.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, this is really cool.
Yeah, you can do. I was just playing around with this. You can do so much in here. Like they have, like I guess this widget. I don't know if you can see it on your side,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I haven't figured out how to change that text. But they have that. Then you can do polls like this one. People can vote on.
Wow.
And then they have like call to actions.
Wow. Oh my gosh, this is really cool.
And then
I
this
feel
one
like
is probably my favorite part is you can actually do like full on topics,
wow.
like chapters like that.
We need to use this. Did you attend any of the webinars we did this week? You
No,
had
my week has been crazy.
no
Um,
worries.
but I did try and make the first one on, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday? Not, I couldn't make the marketing one, but the first one.
Yeah,
Oh, for agencies or I forget what it was at, but yeah,
it was I mean they were recorded and stuff, and I think a lot of it, you probably already know. It was just we're trying to kind of test out like how many people want to come, and what are the questions we're getting. But we did it in Zoom, and the first one there were definitely some hiccups with just like, okay, how do we make it so that people can respond in the chat, and like we had the Q&A function, which was there was just a lot of things that we were like, oh yeah, okay, this is kind of clunky.
yeah,
And I mean, this is just amazing. Like, this is like exactly what we should have used, basically. Like,
totally. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, like I've never used it. I've seen like that company Super, I've seen them like run really, really good webinars on it.
mm,
And so I asked him about it, but I had never, I mean, this is kind of an experiment for everybody. Um, but I was actually going to recommend if you guys do another one of those, like I've been playing around with, whoops, this. Let's see if I can pull this up. So this is actually like Super. They have a Chrome extension. They're basically like a project management tool, kind of.
mm,
They actually are like a HubSpot partner, but they built this thing called Sidekick, and what it allows you to do is pretty much create like a tutorial. Um, so if I wanted to create a new guide on how to build a website in Gamma, just as an example, so basically as I click around here, if I just did, create new page, I guess this as an example, it's just following me and seeing where I click and everything.
wow.
And then the real kicker though is when you're done, you can actually hit this like guide me. And so then let's see if it will take you to the first page, and like basically like I'm hands off right now, and it will show me where to click, what to type in, all that stuff.
Wow. Oh my gosh. What's it called? Sidekick?
Sidekick, yeah. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I'm writing this down. Um, that is wild. Man, I love the Sidekick and contrast. Okay. I love the tools that you end up finding.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like, 5 years ago, I thought just like tech stacks were insane, but now it's like find something new every day. Just boom, okay, add this in to accomplish this one thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy.
Do you think we're gonna get anyone joining? I
I
feel like
don't know. Um, I didn't even check who like responded. I know Jason Whitehead did. Uh,
I don't know if I could see who replied.
yeah, let's see. Contrast. So here we have 5 registrants.
Mhm.
Jason, you, some guy, Gregory.
Oh yeah.
But that is it.
I've been thinking about I don't know if you had a chance to see we have this like companion site now, so it's like putting some stuff on the like internet, like the and what's cool about it is like the events, I have that sending to the site. And so I want to test with like opening up to people who are just like not in the Gambassador community and see if
Oh
folks
yeah,
want to join. Um,
that would be
but
super cool.
yeah, I wonder like too if it's because I know we had some people joining before, and I wonder too if it's like we got this new tool, and I was able to like put the event like more in like a more official looking kind of like sign up for the event. But I wonder if maybe if people ignored that because it's like a bot, it's not like a person being like, hey, make sure you sign up for this. It's gonna be great or whatever.
Totally.
I wonder if that's part of it.
Yeah, could absolutely be the case. And 11 a.m. my time on a Friday, it might not be the best time or whatever too. So there could be a
Yeah.
number of things.
Yeah. Maybe.
But
Um, I wonder how long we should stay on before we just call it.
yeah.
'Cause I don't want to waste your time or like, I'm sure you said you had a busy week, so
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care either way.
okay.
I do. I mean, I when I first put this together, I did put together like a few slides on actually how to do websites, and like best practices. So since this thing is being recorded anyways, we could go through that if you want to use the content anyways. I mean, I've dedicated an hour, so
Let's
it's up to you.
if you're down and you like, don't need the time back, I would love to like thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I was actually. Oh, it took me to build exec. That's why. Come on. Website. So I think the first thing that like I think is really important when thinking about building out sites in Gamma is ultimately like the way that websites with like if you think of just one domain with a bunch of landing pages or web pages on it, the way that it is structured in Gamma is basically like this, where you have, one home page and then everything else is a subdomain, more or less, or a sub page off of that. And so when you're thinking about, say you're a small business owner with like your maybe like most of your website is on Wix, and you have your primary like 5 pages: the home, your services, your portfolio, about you, and then a contact page. We'll just keep it really simple. So the cool thing about Gamma is it allows you to really streamline the way that you can create pages. So once you have a template that you're happy with, and by that I mean, like you can see here, I actually have a website that is named template for blog post. But once you have a template that you're happy with, you can actually just kind of like extrapolate that value and make so many more pages. You could make like in this case, I have a website called Beyond the Bid, and that's separate from my primary website called Go First. And Beyond the Bid is where I store basically anything that's marketing or top of funnel. So that is blog posts, that's the newsletter, that is, where I put all of the lead magnets, those landing pages for lead magnets. And I do that because one, it allows me to separate like top of funnel activity from the content that I have on Go First. So it doesn't necessarily lag down or slow down Go First, that website. And the other part is because like Go First, I want to use as pretty much a source so that people can only look at, information about the company, what we do, and then try and get in contact, right? That's like its primary job. The job of this, though, is to build brand awareness. So to get in front of people through blog posts, through you know, higher rankings on Google, and even, you know, to do lead magnets. So to be able to track downloads and things like that. So yeah, you know, if you're like a SaaS company or a owner operator for a small business, sometimes that might be the best option, is to have 2 or multiple domains that kind of cross pollinate or talk to each other. And then of course, like from there, you can even use like different custom themes, right? So your marketing website, if you want to call it that, could actually look quite a bit different than your primary website. But yeah, so I would definitely spend more time, you know, thinking through the hierarchy, if you will, of like, what do I actually want inside of a website? And then from there, you know, like a lot of my clients, they're builders, so they have to be hyper specific when it comes to like geolocations and SEO in the primary pages that someone would search for, like, you know, custom home builder near me, or custom home builder in Fort Collins, Colorado, or custom home builder in 80521, you know, on Google. And so making sure that the SEO on that page, if it's specific to Fort Collins, it has all of those requirements on it. So then it's going to show up higher or more prevalent or relevant in Google. But yeah, let's see. So I actually have another here. No, that's proposals. That's the one we want. Cool. Oh wait, this one. So similar to, like, I guess what we were talking about 2 weeks ago with proposals, or even just like the thinking about the layout of different pages or different cards. Again, once you have a template as a, like, your header, it makes it a lot easier to just duplicate or like replicate that for different web pages that have a similar function. So you could think of like all of your blog pages could use the same header. All of your lead magnets technically could use the same header. Your about us and your contact us could use the same header. Some things that I notice people miss quite often when they're starting to build out these sites, right off the top. So people often don't know how to create multiple web pages off of the same domain. And that's, you know, that's actually just this toggle pages. So if you select this link up here, you've probably likely seen this type of view before, where you have all of the cards on that one gamma, which is, I think, what it defaults to for presentations, for documents, and for social. But for web pages, basically what you would want to do is to select it again, so that you can actually view all of the web pages that are currently associated to your primary domain. Or if you don't have a primary domain, if you haven't gone that far yet, these are all of the sub pages that are attached to that gamma URL that is default.
Yeah. What you're pointing out, that is a really common question that we get, is like, how do I create multiple pages on
Totally. Yeah.
Gamma? Which, you're right, like the functionality is different with the like presentations and docs versus the sites. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sure. The other thing that I've seen people kind of miss out on is this top nav bar, or the navigation bar up top. I've seen people kind of struggle with knowing how to use this. And just highlighting the domains again. So if you don't have a custom domain that's attached to your website, this is actually the default that, or gamma hosted domain. This is the one that I was just talking about, anything that ends in gamma.site. But favicons, I think, they are super important. I know like you guys have a little bit of a bug right now with how the web pages are showing on Google, but hopefully that gets fixed pretty soon. And then of course, like if you're using Google Analytics, making sure to put in your code. I forget what it's actually, I guess Google Tag Manager code. And then same thing with Facebook Pixel if you're tracking conversion rates from like any Facebook ads or anything or meta ads. Other than that, yeah. So I guess, what is it called? Your icon or your logo for that page. Some people can miss out on doing this or importing it correctly. One thing I've found, especially for dark pages, like my brand, is if you make it transparent. So if you get rid of the background, it will actually showcase better. And if I didn't do that, it would actually have like a white box around it and just not look as good. So again, that's primarily only for like dark colored backgrounds, but in Canva or even in Gamma, if you upload your own photo and then I forget, there's like a way to do it, and maybe it's not in the logo, but if you import it in your own photo and then you can ask AI to basically remove the background for you. So then what I would do is save that transparent logo and then re-upload it as your logo up here. I know that's probably confusing, but ultimately that's kind of the way that I've gone about it if you don't want to use Canva for taking care of all that. The other part is this nav bar. So when you do have this enabled, what's really nice is basically it gives you an area to create like super links, if you want to call them that. So links that take the user to the primary pages that can contain all of the other links. So as an example, like this newsletter link, when I click on this, it's actually this one is actually to my Beehive subscription page. So it's outside of Gamma, but I know on other pages, I will actually no, on the primary Beyond the Bid page, it contains nested cards that have links to all of the blog posts that I've created and stored here. So basically, if you went to that page, or I can actually just go there for a second. So this home page for Beyond the Bid, you can see there's a nested card here with 3 links that are the same up here. And then I have a, what is it called? A table of contents, right? So each one of these topics is actually a separate card from Gamma. And it has a toggle that when I drop that down, I can see all of the previewed embeds for other blog posts. The one downside to this is there really isn't a search capability. So as I continuously add blog posts to each one of these categories, it just kind of, it just makes the page longer, right? Or it's a little bit harder to see exactly what you're looking at or to find if something would be interesting to you. But from an aesthetic perspective, I think this works pretty well. And, if you are my audience, if you're in my audience and you're a builder and you're struggling with building like getting more leads, you can quickly click on that and then it'll take you to this section. And then you can kind of explore what options you have there. So lots of different options when it comes to how you want to display content in a web page. Again, you can do, embeds, preview links. You can even, oftentimes what I'll do is drop, for blogs, I'll create a newsletter through Beehive. I'll create a Gamma web page. So it helps, I guess, make the Beyond the Bid page rank higher because it's super relevant content. And then what I'll do is also have Notebook LM create a podcast of that topic. But the real kicker is I'll actually have all three of those channels kind of talk to each other. So I'll embed the Spotify podcast inside of Gamma. I'll embed the Gamma page inside of Beehive and vice versa, right? And so that just the benefit there is it makes the page a little bit more dynamic. So then when Google crawls it, it gives it a little bit higher value than it would if it was just more of like a simple web page, right?
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
You've mentioned like cross-pollination and how like does that also help with having your website rank higher? I know that's not really a Gamma question, but I am just curious. Like, it seems like you know a lot about SEO and how to, ensure that your content is actually like like the top of the page and not a couple
Yeah.
sites down.
It absolutely helps for again, like companies that are specific to or location dependent. So if you have, say, a few articles on life in, we'll just say like San Francisco, right? And then you have a podcast that's attached to that from the same domain, that absolutely will get you to rank higher. Same thing with video. If you have YouTube videos on that same topic that are also in Gamma, they will absolutely help as well. And the ranking is super important, but even more important than that is, I would say, like brand awareness. So if you're getting your content in front of the right audiences, whether that's a Facebook group or a association or whatever, or a Slack channel, that can absolutely, help build more brand authority. Because if somebody finds you on YouTube, they're more than likely to try and, search to see if you have a podcast on Spotify, as an example. Especially if you're promoting the podcast on your YouTube, as well as if you're promoting the YouTube on your Spotify.
Gotcha. Interesting.
I haven't done a phenomenal job of that yet because everything I've done is kind of AI generated. But yeah, I know that strategy definitely works for a lot of people.
I like what you've done here with the newsletter and the podcast and then the value vault. I think like the way that's structured is really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, this thing I built because I came across this guy on Instagram who was using like ManyChat. He was like one of the first guys to use ManyChat, which is like that auto responder thing for Instagram influencers, And he created this whole like drip campaign thing for people who would respond or comment to his Instagram. And so I actually just took the name and like a lot of the way that this is structured from that guy. I forget his name, Steve something, but yeah, I appreciate it. Where was I going to go? Oh, yeah. So we'll go back here. And then actually one cool thing about this contrast thing is when I hit these chapters, it will actually, I think it saves it as a timestamp. So when we go back through the recording for clipping and whatnot, it makes it a lot easier.
I'm literally messaging my coworkers because we were getting all this feedback coming in from the webinars we did, and some of the feedback we got was like Zoom was clunky and not great.
Oh yeah.
And I'm literally like, I'm sitting on this tool. It's amazing. The chapters, like the way that it functions, like, and I love that knowing that, I can like say this and then we can just clip it out,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But do you mind showing that chapter again? I want to take a
Oh, yeah.
screenshot of this. This is so cool.
I think it goes away after a few seconds.
Awesome.
Or you can even, so like, you can break it up so that like this is kind of the one version, and then you can change it to I guess the whatever it's called, the third page or whatever. There's also
Oh,
this other brand theme. Let's see if I can change, see what this looks like. So if we did it this way, it just looks a lot different, maybe a little bit more formal or something. But I like the other one
wow.
better.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's see. Oh, this was one thing I was going to mention too. So for anybody who's like thinking about building out, any type of web page, I was actually talking to a friend of mine. She's an artist this morning, and she does murals and a bunch of different stuff. And she's like, "Yeah, one goal I have, you know, this quarter is basically to wrap up or to get a website going instead of just relying entirely on Instagram or whatever." And so I showed her this, or I showed her Gamma, and she really liked it. But even more than that, I was like, well, the first thing I would do is if you're using chat or like Gemini or any LLM, is to have it break up your homepage into 3 spots. So like H1, H2, and H3, which are just the different sizes of headers, if you want to think of it that way. But what that allows you to do is to like chunk out your web page so you can kind of see, what my header should look like, what my, subtopic should look like, and then what the bullet points should be underneath those subtopics. So that definitely helps instead of just having, your stream of consciousness written onto a page.
Yeah.
Um, and then, of course, like, I would say one other thing that people miss when they're thinking about building out these sites is this is actually not the right one. When you have your draft, or even if it's published, it really doesn't matter. But you can go into a rename page and URL path, and that same LLM that you're working with to do the H1 to H3, ask it to create an SEO title, a custom URL path, and a meta description. And what that will do is this alone will help you drastically improve the way that Google reads this page, because there's this term like canonical or canonical or something, but it's basically like how Google reads pages in a hierarchical fashion. So think of just like, bullet points, I guess. Um, if this was say like blog, and then I messed it up, but this it would tell Google that basically this URL path has to belong underneath that's the master of blog, and then blog lives underneath, beyond the bid or whatever. But we don't have that yet. So the best thing you can do is to basically maximize the space that you do have with your URL. And you can do that, even though it's not necessarily like a subcategory, you can still have your LLM type in, blog hyphen and then the title. And that will actually help register to tell Google that, okay, this is kind of a blog. It's not underneath the subgroup yet, but it's definitely kind of a blog. Same thing with the description. But yeah, so that is one thing that I see a lot of people miss is these 3 components here.
I'm
And
I'm just curious because I assume you have experience like building sites before Gamma. Sounds like you're pretty familiar, or not pretty familiar. Like you do this. Um, is this something that, with the like custom URL path, is this something that like we as a company could build out and like make your job easier? Or is
yeah,
this something that's just kind of the nature of like building a site? I'm curious because like you obviously know what you're doing and you understand how it works, but like for folks that are just, oh, I can create a site. This is so cool. Like it might not come so naturally to them. Like the workaround you have is really smart. But I'm curious, like, is that something we could do on our end?
Absolutely. I would say the two deficits that I have with building out websites of this complexity, right? If you just have a single web page that has 5 pages on it, not a problem because it's, you know, um, grantfullofluck.com/about me,
Right.
grantfullofluck.com/contact me, whatever. But if you're building out, blog pages and lead magnets and just lots of other landing pages that are attached to your primary, having a like what's called, I think it's a CMS, so like a content management system, that would be amazing for, because then it would help elevate just it would take website design to the next level. Absolutely.
Mm.
And I
I
think Deepak was talking about it 2 weeks ago or something. But the other thing that I would say is, especially when we were talking about websites, is to be able to save cards. So an example of that is actually like a footer on our website,
Yeah.
and not having to just copy and paste it for every page they make. But yeah, I would say those are the two biggest things that if we were able to add those in, it would save so much time and allow people to really, expand on the use case.
We had this come up with another ambassador. They shared their like startup. They built their startup um, website on Gamma, and
Cool.
they had this huge footer. And our team was like, "Oh my god, they must have spent so much time on creating this." Like we like came to the same conclusion, which is like we need to have a way to make this easier for people because like it's so cool that they built this on Gamma, but also it probably took them so much time to do that.
Oh yeah.
And like if you're not, you know, like a power user of Gamma, you're probably going to be like, well, I can find something easier,
Yeah,
and but
absolutely. I
that's
know it,
interesting.
it probably took me at least 45 minutes to build this one, because it just, again, is like I tried to grab it from somebody else, like the framework, but and this is the one I use on all the primary pages. But yeah, if you're even that, right? Like for somebody who's just starting out on and who knows that they need a footer on their webpage, it's going to take them probably a few hours or something to try and get it even like a working model.
Mm, right.
Let's see. Oh yeah. Um, so this is just basically a step-by-step guide to create like custom domains. And I've honestly never seen a different app use a auto DNS tool. Like it's super, super cool, because if you are not I mean, most of the audience I think is probably going to be owner operators who have control over their website. But if you're not, and you need access to the primary domain, just to attach your web page to it, using the auto, I forget what it's actually called. Yeah, the instead of the manual add domain button, where you can basically hit go on the auto thing, and it will go and auto add what are they called, like the fields to your DNS record in Namecheap or GoDaddy or whatever you're using. That's amazing, because that is always a pain in the butt having to do that when you're tying different apps to your domain. Um,
Right on.
the other thing, the one, so I would say some of the like crazy benefits that you get from using Gamma versus something like Wix or WordPress or Squarespace or whatever is, by default, it is super responsive on mobile. So, as when you deploy or publish a web page, the first thing I like to do is actually or even before I hit publish, I'll actually just share the URL to my phone, or text it to myself or whatever, and just see what it looks like on Chrome. And 99.999% of the time, it just like loads perfectly. Like the format just looks super clean, right? And sometimes like the image, if it's big or whatever in the card that you're using, so in this case, like the right layout, I think this image sits on top of the text. So it does look a little bit different than what you'd see on desktop, but it just, that alone, I mean, if you can get over, or if you can kind of tweak it a little bit, if that's an issue, it's not, like you'll quickly experience like night and day time savings between doing this on Gamma and then having to create like a mobile site on Wix, if you've ever had to do that, because that is a pain in the butt.
Wow. I'm learning something new. I didn't even realize. So if with other tools you have to create like a mobile site and then like a desktop site.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And that's actually one of the reasons why I kind of dropped Wix entirely and then started building on Gamma, is because I was just not, I hated that. I hated having to reformat everything so that Wix would like register it as a mobile friendly site.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad that it and I mean, you're right. Like the sites I've checked out on Gamma, like, or even just the Gamma marketing site. I'm like, if I'm on my phone, I didn't even realize that was a thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm forgetting to do these little topic things. Let's see. So we got that. Oh, the other thing too is, this is kind of hard. I'm kind of guilty of this, but after you hit publish, or even before you hit publish, just test out if you have like CTA buttons or call to action buttons, or your nav bar. Just make sure that the links actually work and go where you want them to, because more often than not, it's you'll, at least I run into this, where I'll put in a button and I'll either accidentally paste the wrong link, or I'll mistype something, or I'll forget to put in the URL and by itself. And then when I hit publish and I'll click on the link, and it's either broken or doesn't go anywhere. So one suggestion would be, when you're thinking about building out your own site, or even starting to do like a SOP around how to do sites, make sure that's a step. And then, I mean, if you're using an LLM for your content, oftentimes it's going to be, you can make it relevant for SEO. You can do a lot more work than, just saying, write me an article about whatever. And so even though I put in proofreading here, you could, if you don't want to spend time reading through your own page, which you should, but you could just have easily, said to chat or whatever, check out my website. Here's a PNG or PDF of the whole page, proofread it, and make sure everything looks good. And it will tell you if there's any errors.
That's smart.
And then, yeah, I think I mentioned this, but lastly, I hate the tags in like Google Analytics and Meta. I feel like that's such a pain in the butt, not from Gamma, but just the way that whole thing is structured. But it is super beneficial to like track engagement and impressions to your site, because you can do quick, kind of like, I guess one other benefit that you can do with Gamma is you can actually iterate in almost real time. So you could have 3 versions of the same landing page with small changes to them. And you can basically get rid of the ones that aren't driving more traffic. And by basically tagging your, whatever it's called, the Google Analytics into your Gamma, you can, that kind of alone tells you which pages are outperforming the other ones. So if you have a marketing person, or if you're just doing this by yourself, you can quickly duplicate these pages, duplicate page, and then iterate on the fly when you need to. Of course, that's kind of like a more complex thing, but I would definitely recommend adding that into your standard flow when you're building out pages too. Yeah, and then same thing, right? Like, have a system for how you update your site. So have a SOP for how to create a new blog post in Gamma. Same thing for a services page. Same thing for if you're location dependent, a location page, all of that. Because the thing that I always recommend, regardless of what people are doing, is have a system before you give that task to someone. Have an SOP for it so that someone's not just, hitting the ground running, and also they're going to theoretically break all of your shit. But I think that is it. That's all I had so far. So we can hit that button. What do you think?
Oh man. I think one of my biggest takeaways is like that there's so much that is like not, it's like more site related than like I just think that this is so helpful, because I think that there are a lot of people that use Gamma that are just like, oh, let me just like build a website.
Yeah.
And then there's just these things to building a site that, like, if you don't know about that, or like the way that you've structured this out is just really smart. And it's cool to hear the things that are like helpful about Gamma, and then of course the things that like would make your life easier. But this is just really well done. Like
Thanks.
I feel like sites is such a common like question that we get, and there's a lot of people internally that are like, I kind of understand, but I'm not like a pro at building a website. And so I feel like you've really filled in the knowledge that I definitely didn't have, but I think a lot of our users also like need help with that. Even just like, how do I add another page? That's a question we get a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, really well structured. Yeah, this was
Thanks.
like excellent.
I forgot to put this in, but I brought up the topic of like LLMs. And one thing that could help, I think, a lot of users too, is if you have a like H1 to H3 format that you're happy with, you can train a model on that. Like, give them a specific GPT instructions that are basically your brand, your color scheme, your message, your tonality, all that stuff. And like, to give you an example, I have all these in Google, it's called gems, but I have like an SOP creator, I have article writers that use basically my format. And then all I have to do is copy that format and bring it into Gamma, so that I could use excuse me, I could use Gamma's AI generator to start from scratch, but more often than not, just using a separate AI tool that is its only job is to format pages that in a way that I like. I feel like that has really helped elevate just what I've been able to do with websites.
Yeah, your workflow that you showed me the last time we chatted, where it was like, and I put it in a chat, and then I put it into Notebook LM. And I think you were talking about how you build like the blog and then the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is like that's also really interesting because it's like relevant to Gamma, but it's also like not at the same time. And you have figured out a way to basically, unlock like a level of Gamma that I think a lot of people haven't quite gotten to yet.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
which is really cool. I mean, because I think if we can get more people, that I don't know, it's like maybe it's like just it seems like you're pretty resourceful and like you are able to find like, okay, if I put it in here and then paste it into Gamma, like versus the generate the web page type of thing, which I think if you're building like a full site for your business, it's you're probably not going to use the generate with AI flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, but
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, absolutely, right? Like it all just depends on kind of what you need as a end user or what you think you need. And then you can like I would say the biggest benefit I've gotten from Gamma and tools like Gamma in that workflow is just the like I think because of AI or just because of tools like this now existing, you can like change or update your workflows so quickly to,
Right.
oh, okay, let's tweak this one little part to make it faster, or to build a chat that is specific to this thing so it saves me time and I don't have to think about the format of that blog page or whatever. I would say
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing is just the time savings that you can get from these things. And I know that's such a cliche like sales term now. Like, oh, how much time are you saving doing your taxes or whatever? But um, it literally is like if you're spending, I mean, to go from not knowing at all what to do when it comes to like building a blog to having a workflow that you can change on the fly and knowing like, okay, I need to do this step after this one's done. This one is currently rendering. So then while that's working, I can do boom, boom, boom. Like it's crazy. It's so, so awesome.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, I don't know. I also nerd out like hardcore about that stuff. Um, but well, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely, once this thing's, I guess, done processing, I'll send you over the recording and then just you can use it however you want.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because I'm definitely going to put it on the community, and then I wanted to send. Speaking of like SEO, this is so relevant because we just stood up the new companion site, which is not in Gamma; it's through a different tool. But um, I am working on SEO with them, so like trying to figure out, how to do that. But we want to start. Basically, just trying to figure out a way to like get the knowledge that the like our top ambassadors have, but like to the broader internet,
Oh yeah,
and like of course we have like our socials pages and stuff, and we have like a YouTube channel, but we're also kind of figuring out like what are the things that people are really engaging with. So I want to definitely put this on the community. And then is there anything like on your end that like we can do, like if you want to share stuff on social, if this is even like something you would want to do, and then we can like engage with that. Like what's most helpful for you just in terms of like
yeah. I if you guys have any tips on how to do better with social, that is one thing I have the workflow down in terms of
Mhm.
like you know um, creating content, publishing content. But yeah, I mean, I would love to use that word cross pollinate, right?
Yeah.
To help promote. Um, but yeah, if you guys have any like best practices on formats or anything like that, or channels or anything, right?
Mhm.
I'm all for it.
I can ask our social media content lead. He's really big on videos. I know that's, and like you posted like a soundbite from one of the office hours, which I don't know how well it did like compared to some of the other stuff you post, but I know he's really big on videos. And I think like I mean, what we tend to do is like, if we're like thinking about bees again, like we kind of like anytime someone, like ambassador, or anyone posts about Gamma, we share it internally and then just kind of swarm like the post and add comments and things and like CEO Grant, if he, he has like 40,000
Oh,
followers. And so he's like a really good person to get engaged. So like that's the thing that we tend to do. But like we're also just kind of like if we all just comment on it, like hopefully it reaches a broader audience. But something like this, if you were, if you wanted to share something like that, or we might even like want to share it if that's like if you're comfortable with that. But I just
sure.
want to get an
Yeah.
idea of what what you're good with and what like what you want to share since
I
um
am open to sharing anything. Like I have no qualms about, yeah, no restrictions, I guess.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Because I think, I mean, yeah, I think like if you want to share a soundbite of this, whichever part like is like, you think would be really relevant,
Yeah.
and then we can just jump on it and
Cool.
get Grant Lee commenting on it and stuff, and because
Oh yeah,
that's the
that
kind of
would be
stuff that
awesome.
yeah that's helpful. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. To be honest, all I do is just when the recording is done, Contrast actually has a button that says like suggested clips. And I just click
wow,
that and it says, oh, this clip has, 85% chance of going viral or something. And here's the reasons. And so all I do is just grab the first like two or three and then upload those. But
that's
and video
wild.
does perform significantly better than any other format right now.
Yeah,
But I just need to do a better job of like actually recording or turning these things into some type of format that is usable.
yeah, yeah. I think we're all kind of figuring it out, like,
Oh yeah,
like we Rohit is our social media guy, and he like they'll do like productions of like they just did one with like Mission Impossible and it's about Gamma, and it's like it's just like fun and funny and just to get people engaging with it. But we're all kind of he's like, I don't know, I mean, I think it like was helpful,
yeah,
like, but we're still kind of
and
figuring that out too.
yeah. It's like if it's fun and if you're consistent with it, I think that's probably the most important thing from what I understand, which is not much, but um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's cool. But yeah, let's definitely. I don't know. Well, I'll send this over, and then yeah, I'll send over a few like the suggested clips too, and maybe we can just pick one to start with.
perfect. Yeah, that would be great. And thank you again, thanks for like setting aside the time out of your day to do this and doing it even though no one joined. Like maybe I'll like I think I'll figure out some things on my side too. I think it was the bot that like posted about the event and not like the human, I think that's like a thing that maybe people didn't engage with. So I'll be more
Yeah,
mindful of how I'm sharing stuff on the community because I do think that had an impact,
yeah.
unfortunately.
I also haven't done anything about it, in like 2 weeks, and then because Imelda wanted it, and so I was like, yeah, sure, it's like set up, use it however you want. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it might have just been that too, like limited engagement for the past week and a half or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, maybe it was too posting it too early. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons
Yeah,
like why. But
it's
but
hard.
I thought this was super valuable, and I'm glad that this tool will just let you like clip things, and that's awesome.
Yeah, this thing has, I mean, I've even just like uploaded YouTube videos into this and then just grabbed snippets or whatever. And I'm not even paying for it. I'm just using it like the free version.
We're
It's
definitely going to use this for the next webinar we do.
yeah, it's pretty cool. But well, hey, I'll let you go. And I'll
Awesome.
send over that stuff and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
All right. Take
Amanda.
it easy. Bye.